Prologue fate has a savage sense of irony. I thought I held every thread in my hands until the moment I realized I was nothing more than a carefully positioned pawn. This decade-long marriage between two medical empires has been a meticulously engineered fraud, and I, its most gullible beneficiary. Even my love for him was nothing but a chemical mirage. The year I turned 30, two packages arrived that I never saw coming. The first was an anonymous parcel, a matte black velvet box stamped in gold with the words "Medical Controller." Inside, cushioned in silk, rested two glass syringes, one filled with sapphire liquid, the other with rose. A gilt instruction card lay beneath them. The pink syringe was identical to the experimental sample Asher had given me 5 years ago. I read the card line by line. Blue serum suppresses emotional resonance. Pink serum amplifies emotional volatility. Once injected, whether the subject consents or not, the effect is permanent. A physician's mind finishes the equation instantly. This is a drug that can make anyone love you, or freeze every feeling they ever had. The second gift came in a white clinic envelope, my routine OB/GYN report. I was pregnant. Asher's child. The living proof that the heart I had surrendered still beat for him. I couldn't wait to tell him. I hurried down the corridor in my stilettos, the report clutched like a victory flag, and pushed open the lacquered office door. The scene on the research bench could have been lifted from a nightmare I'd already lived, Asher and Luna, tangled together, backlit by the sterile glow of microscopes. The exact tableau I had stumbled upon 3 years ago in the hospital meds room, only now the lighting was brighter and the betrayal older. This time I didn't retreat. I would walk away from the ore that had devoured my youth, away from the man who had rewired my soul. Even if every suture of my heart was sewn to his, I would cut the stitches with my own scalpel. The accident that rerouted my life happened 3 years ago, our 3rd wedding anniversary, the 7th year since we'd met. I had been on my feet 12 hours, finishing a high-risk heart transplant case ahead of schedule. I wanted to surprise him. I traded my surgical scrubs for a silk dress, grabbed the '82 Lafite he loved, and jogged to Sterling. After every big case, Asher would wait there, open arms ready, the embrace interns whispered about in the locker room. But when the lab door swung wide, the only thing waiting was the glare of halogen lamps bouncing off a $1 million research bench and Luna draped across it. Asher bent over her. She was wearing the next-gen surgical gown I had designed, the one our team was about to patent. My half-sister, the hospital's youngest anesthesia chief, had never bothered to hide her hunger for him. Asher, always so controlled in public, had clearly misplaced his restraint. Luna's eyes glittered with triumph. She didn't flush or flinch. She straightened the gown and cooed in that trademark fragile voice, "Bennett, I'm sorry. I didn't know Sis would finish surgery so early." I stepped closer, mirroring her tone. "Bennett? Shouldn't you be calling him brother-in-law?" Asher's brows snapped together. "Ellis, don't make a scene. She's your sister." I swallowed the fire in my throat. "Since you're so aware she's my sister, what exactly were you bench testing? Posture retention sutures?" Luna smoothed her sleeves and whispered as she brushed past, "Happy anniversary, sis." Asher sat on the edge of the bench, knuckles bleached around a test tube rack. I inhaled, counted to 5, moved in. "Pressure getting to you lately?" His face softened, he set the rack aside and caught my hand. "Sorry. I injected a new reagent this morning." My head's fogged. The words catapulted me back 5 years to the first time he said he loved me, clumsily knocking over a beaker yet refusing to let me mop it, insisting I see him at his most ridiculous. Now his eyes were still bloodshot, breath still ragged, but all they held was guilt. "Dylan, I'm sorry. You know she throws herself at me. I always push her away." This time, it was the drug, side effects. His grip tightened with every sentence. "I missed you so much. She was wearing your design, I got confused." My anger wavered. Maybe we'd both been drowning in overtime or marathons, his all-night cultures. And Luna always found the cracks. "Look," I offered, "the gown prototype is finished. Why don't I scrub out of surgery for a while and join you here as your research partner? We'll work side by side, try for that baby we keep postponing. So, 3 years ago, I laid down my scalpel and became his lab assistant. But this time today there will be no absolution. 3 When I announced the divorce, my parents exploded. Father hurled a priceless Ming vase against the marble tiles. See what your daughter's become? Letting Emery run wild. Mother's laugh could have etched glass. I told you we should have swapped their birth certificates. Bennett and Emery were perfect for each other. Now my poor girl suffers. Perfect for each other? Was everything Asher and I had built, every whispered dream, every shared dawn in the call room, just collateral damage? 4 Ellis, I need you for a critical experiment. The first time I met Asher, he spoke those words inside Harborview's state-of-the-art surgical amphitheater, spotlighted by the OR's dome. It was the finals of the National Young Surgeons Cup, the hospital's annual gala. I had just closed a complex heart transplant case in record time. He stepped onto the stage, handed me a scalpel whose handle bore my name engraved by his own hand. Under 1,000 pairs of astonished eyes, we smiled at each other, and the future cracked wide. Later, we applied to the same medical research fellowship and both won places. For the entire internship we were never more than 3 feet apart. I believed no 2 people on earth were better matched. My best friend, Chloe, hated the whole thing. Ellis, are you insane? Your technique in the OR wipes the floor with his, yet you're checking Harvard for him? Do you know how many people would kill for that cardiothoracic track? Asher's hands were slower on live tissue, true, but his mind for translational research was pure genius. He said he wanted us to invent new operations together, not spend years on separate continents. I turned Harvard down and stayed at Harborview. My parents never asked about my career plans. The only numbers they cared about were the hospital's quarterly share allocations. When I was 10, a procedure I watched ended in Mom's emergency delivery. After that she decided I was bad luck and poured every drop of affection into Luna. Chloe slapped the pledge I'd written on my first day of internship onto the table. Remember your list? Youngest chief of cardiothoracic in Harborview history? Escape this greedy dynasty? But I was drunk on love. With Asher I can still do it. We're renting our own place, I don't have to watch their faces anymore. Ever since med school I'd paid my own rent by seeing walk-ins on the side. Financial independence, I learned early, is armor against family strings. She eyed the plastic trial syringe strapped to my wrist like a bracelet. His family owns half the patents in the Sterling device catalog, and he gives you a homemade syringe? I stroked the barrel. He mixed the reagent himself. Simple, yeah, but he pulled 3 all-nighters to get the titration right. Ellis, get a grip. You used to swear dating a pharmacologist would cloud your clinical judgment. You really that into him? I'm into him. He's my perfect co-pilot. And look, he followed up with the monogrammed surgical kit. The man listens. Chloe threw up her hands. Suit yourself. Just don't let Luna smell blood, she's been circling Sterling lab space forever. I laughed it off. Regret? Impossible. Without him the OR lights felt dim. 3 Mom and Dad staged a circus in the hospital boardroom. Mom's tears dripped like an unclamped 4. As I turned to leave, Luna burst in, ready for war. Certain I'd planted rumors about her, she threatened to have medical records audit every cut I'd ever sewn. Dad actually barked her down an event as rare as a total solar eclipse and told Mom to take her for a sedative in the lounge. Then he looked at me with unsettling warmth. Dylan, for the hospital's future, couldn't you reconsider? The Sterling pipeline means everything to us. I stared at the man who calculated faster than any calculator. Let Luna marry him, same access. I paused, watching the micro-twitch under his left eye. Or is it only my DNA that pairs well with theirs? His flinch answered, I walked. Outside, I texted Chloe, I'm filing for divorce. Send me Prof's number. Prof Kingsley had mentored both of us and now ran the nation's top functional genomics lab. I overnight vials of Asher's blood and mine with a single request, full pairwise genome readout. Asher had always policed my orbit. Casual chat with a male resident? He'd materialize on grand rounds. After the wedding he upgraded to full-scale contact purge, every male attending erased from my phone. That day had already stretched me like a graft, still, one item topped the list. I rested a hand on the invisible swell beneath my scrub top. The embryo was still classified information, and it would stay that way until I could deliver alone into a world I controlled rather than inherited. Instead of driving to the Sterling estate, I headed for Chloe's condo across from the hospital. My phone brimmed with missed calls from Asher and Sterling. I ignored them and rang Luna. She was still snuffling. I'd pitied her for years. We were different specimens of the same toxic culture. I could slice my way out with a scalpel. She was pinned beneath Mom's guilt pins, destined to suffocate under that smothering love. Luna, do you actually love Asher? Sniffle, sniffle. Or, like the time you snatched my cardio case, is this just about proving you're better? A shriek of laughter cracked through the speaker. Exactly. Everyone thinks Mommy's favoritism cushioned me. But it made them watch you with big protective eyes, attendings, patients, even Asher. He chose you in the end. We were research partners first. If that gene match score hadn't flashed on the screen, you stole him, Ellis. We met in pre-med lab, revived a rabbit, named it Serena together. When he calls you that, do you honestly think he's seeing you? You're filler, the knockoff version. You're screwing your sister's man. Feel sick yet, genius? You could carve your own orbit, but you crawled into this freak show marriage. Who forced you? I know you were outside the lab that day, and even earlier, back when you were an intern and overheard that conversation. I let you listen on purpose. You never loved him at all. You loved Prof's favorite student, Lucas. You only went after Asher to get back at me. You stole the person who understood me best. Luna grew more frantic with every word, her voice crackling with vicious delight. Do you know why Lucas suddenly left for his fellowship abroad? Because he slept with me on your wedding night. He thought I was you, but it was a trap I set. I'm going to destroy everyone who loves you, make them all turn their backs on you. She struck my rawest nerve. Enough. Oh, did I hit a nerve? You started chasing Asher just to spite me, and now look, you've ruined yourself. How pathetic are you? For a man who doesn't love you, you gave up Harvard, gave up your whole surgical career. Ellis, you've lost everything. I hung up, hands shaking uncontrollably. For years I'd tried not to stare at the ridiculous trajectory of my life. He asked me to be his research assistant, so I abandoned the oar. He asked me to rest for the baby's sake, so I turned down every consultation. I told myself it was love. Now even that feeling might be a lie. I stared at the pink syringe on my wrist. Which parts were real love? My feelings for him, or, as Luna claimed, a heart that never stopped longing for Lucas, merely twisted by whatever chemical was in this tube? Prof's genetic screen came back fast. The result confirmed my suspicion. My genome readout is a perfect complement to Asher's. With me beside him, his research will sail, without me it will stall. If I stay, does that keep him at the summit of medicine forever? In theory, yes. I replayed the last decade scene by scene. Apart from Luna, Asher had been nothing short of impeccable. On the days she stayed away, we were the golden couple every resident envied. So, setting aside the lie at the beginning and the betrayal at the end, he hadn't truly wronged me. The thought made me hesitate. Maybe I didn't have to be so absolute. His work has saved countless patients. I don't have to detonate his career along with our divorce. I even considered injecting him with the pink serum so we could love each other sincerely, no more walls between us. But love manufactured like that, could it still be called love? It would only be a meticulously plotted genetic fraud. I locked the medical controller inside Chloe's safe. I left one letter for Chloe, one for Asher. I trust Chloe to settle everything for me. From now on, apart from a marriage certificate that exists only on paper, I have nothing more to do with this city reeking of disinfectant. I told Asher in the letter that he is free to be with anyone, he will never see me again. In the end I chose a seaside town where Lucas once volunteered at a clinic. Resorts now line the waterfront, but traces of his old practice remain. I became a family medicine doctor at a local private practice. Far from the big hospital intrigue, the past 6 months have been calm and sweet. Seldom do I think of the battles in Harborview, seldom of Asher. The love I once felt for him seems like a past life, those days when romance addled my brain now feel foreign. The pink serum's grip appears to be fading with each new injection I never took. The townsfolk are simple and kind, especially caring toward the lone female doctor. When they learned I was pregnant, baskets of fresh fruit and vegetables kept appearing at my door. My days are spent treating minor complaints, peaceful and full. But news travels faster than I hoped. The day I left I guessed the gossip about Asher and me would roar through Harborview, and sooner or later my OBGYN report would reach the Sterlings. Asher started reaching out frantically, texts swinging from hysterical to calm, all insisting this is Sterling blood and cannot be cast adrift. Luna, oddly, stayed silent, sending nothing. I didn't realize she wasn't giving up, she was only planning something crueler. That night, right after I finished an emergency procedure, she appeared in the clinic doorway. "Dear sister, did you really think I couldn't find you in this backwater? How naive. I'm your flesh and blood, of course I know you." Hiding in the very clinic where Lucas volunteered might as well have marched straight to his new research institute. She stepped closer, eyes fixed on my swollen belly, gloating and vicious. "You claim you don't love him anymore, so why keep the child? Planning to use the baby as leverage? I'm telling you, impossible. I will not let anyone threaten Bennett's future, he stays free." Before she finished, she snatched a surgical instrument from the tray and lunged. I was 7 months pregnant, clumsy, barely managing to twist away. Instinctively I shielded my abdomen, but the next moment several strange men burst in, pinned me on the OR table. The clinic sits on the outskirts. At 10 p.m. the town is deserted. They tore my white coat open, snapped humiliating photos, then kicked my belly with brutal precision. I felt the agony inside me, but I didn't even have the strength to scream. As consciousness slipped away, I saw a familiar figure in a white coat racing toward me, fighting the thugs. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, the first thing I saw was the glare of the OR light. Asher and Luna were chatting intimately in the room as if it were their private lab. My throat burned dry. My hand flew to my abdomen, it lay flat, lifeless. "The baby?" I forced the question out, clinging to a last shred of hope maybe he'd only been born early and was lying in the NICU. Only then did the two of them notice I was awake. Asher's voice was colder than the surgical lights. The fetus was aborted. He said it with chilling detachment, as if it hadn't been his child at all, just another failed experiment. I lost control. My voice shook. "Asher, that was a 7-month life." He could already smile at me on the ultrasound. I stared at their tightly clasped fingers. "How can you flirt with the woman who murdered your child?" Disgust filled Asher's eyes as he stepped in front of Luna. "I'm sorry you lost the baby, but that's no excuse to slander other people." Ignoring the searing pain, I struggled upright. "Don't you know Luna ordered someone to kill our child?" Luna burst into tears. "Big sister, even if you hate me, you can't invent something so horrible. He was my own nephew, how could I?" Asher cut in. "The police already closed the case. It was just a couple of thugs. You insisted on staying in that backwoods clinic. I begged you to recuperate at Harborview and you refused. What happened was self-inflicted. I should have known Luna would emerge spotless." Naively, I'd thought Asher might still care about the baby after all. He'd once dreamed of a complete family. I grabbed the lapel of his white coat, voice cracking. "It really was Luna. Ask the police to pull the surveillance footage again, please." Asher flung my hand away in revulsion. "Ellis, she's your little sister. When she heard you'd been hurt, she cancelled a major surgery and rushed here first. Why do you always assume the worst about her?" Sobbing harder, Luna leaned into him. "Ellis, stop casting yourself as the perpetual victim. You can't punish Emery for your mother's favoritism. She suffered too growing up under the shadow of preference, then enduring her sister's contempt. Isn't that cruel? Luna hiccuped through tears. I've always wanted us to get along. Every year I sent you samples of the new drugs I was developing, and you just tossed them. She buried her face in Asher's chest. I looked at her coldly. Do you know why I threw them out, Emery? Those special nutrient injections you send. Asher interrupted. Enough. Look what you've reduced Emery to. Honestly, maybe it's better the child didn't survive. I'd hate for him to have a mother this vicious. Every year Luna mailed me a velvet box containing a custom nutrient injection. Wrapped in satin ribbons, each syringe came with an instruction card, actually a flash drive holding clips of her and Asher's experiments. I burned every one. Asher is completely blind now, in his eyes I'm the schemer. I squeezed my burning eyes shut, feeling my heart gouged out with a scalpel. Asher, talk to me alone. I forced myself calm. There's nothing left to discuss. I'll have my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. Once you're discharged, we'll sign. I stared, stunned. Sterling will never allow it. He gave a cold laugh. They already used a genome readout to hijack my marriage once. I won't let them do it a second time. Ellis, don't think flattering my mother will keep me, and don't imagine using a dead child as leverage. The more you cling, the sicker you make me. My medical achievements are powerful enough now. I don't need your complementary genes, and I sure as hell won't stay shackled to some DNA match. When I opened my mouth again, he was already walking out, Luna tucked under his arm. She nestled against him, whatever he murmured made her giggle through her tears like a pampered princess. I stared at the hospital ceiling, the unasked question echoing, Asher, what exactly was I in your life? A stand-in chosen by gene match? Even if those pink serums steered your heart, every day of our 10 years felt real. Still, I can't bring myself to wreck his career. In my best memories he's the teenage doctor pulling an all-nighter over microscopes, the assistant who slapped a scalpel into my palm, the man waiting shyly in the corridor after every surgery, head bent over patient charts. We dated 4 years, married 6. During courtship he treated me like Harborview's crown jewel. Everyone said the Sterling heir's obsession with an unknown surgeon defied belief. Every research idea I voiced was bankrolled. I never worried about funding. For every operation I booked, he paced the hallway outside. Chloe claimed his possessiveness suffocated me, complained he blocked me from conferences. I called it love. I loved the jealous flicker in his eyes when I debated cases with male attendings, loved the way he locked me inside the Sterling so I could focus. He loved calling me Serena. I told him I hated it. That was Luna's English name, but he insisted I was the brightest star in his lab, and he'd use the name for no one else. Every instrument he gifted me was engraved with the word Serena. Eventually I adored the nickname. Turns out I was never his Serena. From day one I was Luna's substitute. On our honeymoon he took me to the renowned Nordic Institute of Medicine. Under the aurora, in that glass-walled lab, we kissed until we were breathless. He held me tight and whispered, Serena, I've missed you so much. At the time I thought he meant we'd been buried in research for too long. Tears in my eyes, I whispered back, Asher, let's have a baby. The first time he met Luna was the day he came to ask my parents for my hand. She happened to be on leave. Noticing his startled look, I teased, are we sisters so alike you can't tell us apart? He just smiled and changed the subject. That summer break, we drifted apart for our own research projects. I deliberately canceled an operation to surprise him, only to walk in on him kissing Luna in the Sterling. When their lips parted, she nestled in his arms and sweetly called him Bennett. I forced myself to believe it was just Luna's ploy to snatch the lab director slot. I speedwed, hoping marriage would lock us together. Sterling was suddenly doting. Every time I visited the Sterling mansion she served my favorite bird nest tonic. I began to mimic Luna's lilt, learning to purr Bennett the way she did. Our cooling love flared hot again because of my makeover. Even when I caught them intimate later, Asher always apologized earnestly, blaming Luna's deliberate seduction. Back then, he never showed the slightest fondness for Luna in front of me. Looking back, I was ridiculous. His coldness toward me came from seeing the real Ellis, his warmth came from family pressure and the need for my genes to secure his medical future. At the time he was only a newly minted doctor, every cent of research money depended on family strings. The family told him to marry me, so he obeyed. Now he's the youngest institute director in Asia, and under him the Sterling Group is booming. Naturally he no longer needs my genetic complement. Chloe arrived the month I was most helpless and nursed me for 30 days. While I convalesced, an anonymous medical dossier reached me, Luna's surveillance footage from Seabreeze that night, plus her call logs. I knew the sender was the stranger who had saved me. I already had the answer in my heart, but the moment wasn't right for reunion. With a sliver of hope, I followed Chloe back to Harborview. My first act back was filing for divorce. Both medical empires would fight it, but since Asher wanted out he'd find a way. I guessed he still didn't know the truth about the pink serum, everything had been orchestrated by Sterling. Honestly, I wasn't sure how badly the split would hit his research, maybe some setbacks, but with his talent he'd cope. The moment Asher heard I agreed, he sent lawyers to negotiate. The divorce sailed through unnaturally fast. I returned the pink serum inside the medical controller as a parting gift. It was the first experimental sample you ever gave me, now it's back where it belongs. Asher knew how precious that vial was to me and swallowed the gesture whole, thinking I wanted a clean break. I watched him walk out of the Civil Affairs Bureau and toss the syringe into the medical waste bin. But it no longer mattered, the drug was already swimming in his bloodstream. The sun was perfect. I tilted my head to the hospital emblem and told myself a new life was starting. I submitted Luna's crimes to the Medical Investigation Board. Faced with ironclad proof, she couldn't lie anymore and lunged at me shrieking in her office. Impossible. I had every record wiped, these files are forged. Security pinned her down, the inquiry rolled on. Asher finally saw the truth and reverted to the devoted lover of old, apologizing non-stop. Ellis, I'm sorry I was blind. But my heart was ash. I smiled thinly. Are you sure you even know which woman is really your Ellis? Luna got 3 years for medical malpractice and intentional injury, her license revoked. Sterling and Vance rocked with upheaval. I changed every contact and retreated to Seabreeze. I kept working at the private clinic while planning a rehab center. Medical resources here are scarce and the room to grow is huge. I haven't seen my rescuer again, but I know he's in this hospital. We'll meet when the time is ripe. Until then, I'll build this clinic strong. Yet Asher found me. The pink serum's effects bloomed, and this time it was he who crawled. Every dawn he drove me to work, every dusk he waited outside Seabreeze and saw me home, never trespassing. 1 month later an urgent call yanked him away. News broke, Sterling's new drug trial had tanked, the group's cash pipeline snapped. On TV Asher looked haggard, his old illness flaring. Soon his assistant rang, he was hospitalized, replaying our old operation videos day and night, eating nothing, fading. I thought a long time and wrote him a letter. I couldn't save Sterling, but I hoped the note would loosen his obsession. Those belated affections were ones I no longer needed. At last Asher stopped reaching out. A year on, Sterling filed for bankruptcy under astronomical debt. Luckily, after Luna's imprisonment the Vance family cut ties and survived unscathed. My parents never contacted me either, as if their daughter had never existed. Chloe told me Sterling took to bed from the blow. I felt nothing, she had torched my best years. Asher later founded a medical device startup and named it Ellis. The logo is a surgical lamp, the very design I once sketched for our OR. Chloe asked how I felt seeing that emblem. What was there to feel? Asher's future will be lit by that lamp forever, while mine is walking toward me in a white coat. Lucas, what took you so long? I hurried to the familiar silhouette. He frowned. No umbrella again? Want another stay in the hospital? I cooed. I missed you after one case, couldn't wait. With a helpless laugh he pulled me into his arms and wrapped me in his white coat. We missed each other in our brightest years, but it's okay here in this Seabreeze clinic we can finally love without fear. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you liked it, please like and share with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe for more wonderful tales. See you next episode.